Okay, so today I'll be talking about the new smoking age law that was recently passed on June 9 of this year. This law was enforced after Governor Jerry Brown signed a series of bills that raised the smoking age to 21 and also placed new restrictions on where people can smoke. The purpose of this new law is to reduce smoking and other tobacco use among youth and save lives. All of this is the new law's purpose, it fails to execute. So that leads to my major claim that raising the legal smoking age to 21 is ineffective. My three supporting claims are that there's a lack of valid proof or evidence that raising the legal age prevents teens from picking up the habit. 2, lawmakers are failing to protect the youth from smoking. And 3, there are more direct actions that should be taken to reduce the smoking rates among these youths. Okay, so the absence of credible, valid, or proof makes it hard to believe that raising the legal smoking age would reduce youth smoking. This law was enforced on the basis that people would actually follow rules on age restrictions. For instance, teens nowadays are easily able to get their hands on tobacco products and alcohol fairly easily despite their age. According to the LA Times, during the 1990s, 3 communities in Massachusetts ensured that by enforcing strict rules on smoking age, the number of smoking youths would noticeably decline. This 2-year study that was conducted by medical school researchers concluded that the expected result was a failure. Underage smoking actually increased in these communities compared to those that did not enforce these strict laws. This can be supported by the interviews that Reason TV conducted in New York. They asked New Yorkers about their views on raising the smoking age to 21, and many of these interviewees believed that raising the legal age would actually bring more attention to tobacco, which would entice more teens to pick up the habit. And this leads to my second supporting claim that lawmakers are failing to protect the youth from smoking. Although the new smoking age is 21, these teens can still acquire tobacco products from others. Richard Bonney, a University of Virginia professor of health and law, argued that high school students are not likely to have access to people who are 21 or older and willing to buy them tobacco products. This is fairly true, but it's not completely true. Teens nowadays, it isn't difficult for minors to wait outside until they find someone who's willing to purchase cigarettes for them. These adults can either be bribed or they simply wouldn't mind buying for the minors. It doesn't work all the time, but it really isn't hard for them to do it. I have many friends who were able to get cigarettes through bribing by letting to purchase just keep the change, which was at most $2. According to the CDC.gov website, every day more than 3,200 teens younger than the age of 18 smoke their first cigarettes, and an additional 2,100 teens become daily smokers. In short, teens under 18 years old were already capable of acquiring cigarettes before the new legislation was passed. This shows that raising the smoking age alone will result in little to no change, making it ineffective. This leads to my last supporting claim that more direct actions should be taken. Despite the prohibition of selling to minors, many stores are willing to still sell to them for the sake of profit. Despite the consequences, many of these stores are actually illegally established. Knowing this, lawmakers should focus on finding these stores that are selling to minors and finding them or closing them down. Another effective method is to raise the taxes on tobacco products. According to R.J. Reynolds, who was an American businessman and founder of the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, the prices were 10% higher, youth smoking would be 11.9% lower. This can be proved by the calculation Jeffrey Harris, an MIT professor, conducted. He calculated that the taxes that were implemented on tobacco products during 1982 and 1983 prevented 600,000 teenagers from smoking. Cigarette companies such as Philip Morris and Lorillard Tobacco even publicly admitted the effectiveness of tax increases. And the CDC.gov website also claimed that tobacco advertising plays a big role in youth smoking. Tobacco companies aim for teens through popular magazines and by advertising flavored cigarettes. To help prevent this, community programs that reduce tobacco advertising should be promoted. And this concludes my argument that the new law is ineffective.
Do you have outlines for me?
Oh, my computer actually crashed, so like I had to restore it. I'm not gonna print out the list.
Oh, yeah, as long as you don't mind not getting a grade next time. All right. The propositions clearly identified. You do a preview for the audience of the secondary claims. I think some of the secondary claims need to be rephrased a little bit on that third point. Basically, you're using a policy claim to support a claim of fact here, and that's not going to work. You have to find a different way to make that argument that you've got there. The signposting in the body of the speech was clear and easy to follow. Your reasoning, you usually explain your reasoning pretty well, although your proof, I think, is a little bit thin. On the first point about easy access, you did have a nice study that you could make a reference to, but that was the only evidence that you had that was specific on that particular point. The interviews on the television, Reason TV, that's just general people's opinion about this. That's what we talked about that. That's public opinion, and public opinion is not always that good at supporting a claim of facts. The argument that says that that people would be unlikely to have contact to people, teenagers unlikely to have contact with people over 21, that's an argument that kind of works the opposite direction of you, and I know that you're trying to respond to that argument, but your only response is that you have personal examples of people who do that kind of thing, and it's like they just ask somebody in the front of the liquor store and ask them to keep the change afterwards. So that's hypothetical at best in proving that particular point. I think your better argument is the notion that there are a lot of kids who currently are not observing the 18-year-old limit, and if they're not observing the 18-year-old limit, what makes you think they're going to be able to observe the 21-year-old limit? And the argument that is presented from Bonner is the argument that applies to the opposing side, and I know that you're trying to respond to it, but I'm not sure that you did a very effective job on that. And then on your third point, which suggests that there are alternative ways that would work better for this, which is not a bad response, that other things might be more effective, but you have to say it that way instead of turning it into a policy claim. Restrictions on advertising, for instance, or closing down illegal stores. The illegal stores, by the way, are all asserted on your part. There's no demonstration that that's really a major source of tobacco for kids underage. It's a little contradictory to suggest that increasing the prices is going to reduce consumption when up above you suggested that the kids would pay extra, they just give up the change in order to get the cigarettes. So that seems like it's not consistent in terms of your argument. So the kid's is going to stand out in front of the liquor store and give somebody $10 to get them cigarettes and say keep the change. But you're saying that increasing the prices would do the same kind of effect to reduce it. That seems like it's contradictory philosophy. Way too much reading in your presentation. Okay, thank you.